And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Medicine from
Our
Our
hands.
Hands.
We're back. We're back in the building.
You got here your co-host, Dr. Charlie, here, an elemental healer, bringing ancient wisdom back to a modern age.
And Blossom, a full spectrum doula, food scientist, and someone who's trying to work to preserve Mother Earth. We're so happy for you to join us again at another episode
of Medicine from Our Hands.
Come on.
Yeah, here we go. So I hope you guys are ready for today's episode. We decided to go deeper into some of these. I think there's a lot of health and wellness controversial topics now as we are discovering or rediscovering or really remembering how bad some of the modern foodstuffs are. Mm-hmm. And today we're talking about seed oils. And overall seed oils. We're not going to talk about one particular seed oils. I think there are many who are really bad, but we're definitely going to share our point of views about seed oils, their detriment to our health, and some of the possible well, I wouldn't say substitute because we're going back to actual natural food products that we used to eat before these seed oils become manufactured into our foods. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Would you like to say anything about that?
I would. In today's society, there's the modern warfare is in our air. If we get clean air, our water, how we source our water, Flint, Michigan, having heavy metals in water, the earth, naturally things that show up in our beaches or trash that we stumble upon, and carcinogenics. Yeah, whether that be from smoke or processing things. So seed oils, unfortunately, we are all confronted with. And this episode is very near and dear to my heart because as a chef, for the most part, some restaurants are good about it. Some bakeries are okay about it. But mainly the overall thing is use whatever oil, whatever's the cheapest, give it to the people and keep this ball rolling, which I've never agreed with. Although I've been chosen in cooking positions to undergo these circumstances, and because of it, it's made me a very particular, a very clean, and a very organic forward chef, which I'm grateful for. And I wouldn't have this conviction without those processes and that time. So I just hope you have something good, healthy, delicious to snack on, drink on while we get this ball rolling. But we have a lot of good information to share, and just overall, if you're a child, if you're a young adult, if you're an adult, if you're an elder or an older person, this is for you, because it doesn't matter if you're like, I'm going to go get some Whataburger. I'm going to go down to the Red Lobster. Let me go to the A2B. You are eating seed oils, and by listening to this podcast, you might have more information, better information, so you can make better informed decisions. And, our whole thing is maybe we change the world, but it starts with one viewer, one listener listening in. And if it's you, this one's for you.
Yes. So let us get into really the history, some of the facts behind seed oils. I think there's so many conversations today about seed oils. And if you guys didn't already know, the controversy is Make America Healthy Again with RFK Jr. in really making seed oils like the biggest problem in health today. So he's really just really pushed against seed oils and said, actually we should be having very little seed oils. And if anything, hydrogenated oils and seed oils should be removed from our diet 100%. And because of that, you guys know it's a huge controversy, because if all of our manufacturing is using seed oils, that's a huge change in manufacturing as well as how we feed the people in this country. Mm-hmm. And, as much as that's coming down the pipeline, you cannot remove all the food out of the grocery stores that are using seed oils. If you did, we'd have almost zero food in the grocery store.
Yeah.
That would cause a mass panic, and everybody food deserts. We'd be in a mass panic. Yeah, and the closest thing that we got to this in our country was really during the wars, right? World War II, ironically, in sending all of our food to the war, we ended up having to farm our own food. And then when the war ended, industrialization came back, and they're like, oh, we have all this extra stuff. Let's just throw it back to the people. Happened to be a lot of these petroleum products, happened to be a lot of the seed oils. And then they, I think, pushed the manufacturing up because a lot of this cheapened products that we had during these wars, because we needed to send them overseas, ended up coming back to the everyday consumer. And that's kind of where the problem long term is, right? Because maybe we're making cheaper oils to send to the armies to feed them, but like ironically, most people would be sent to the armies and the wars weren't coming back, right? Mm-hmm. So we didn't care whether or not they were dying from seed oils. However, today, most of us aren't going to war, right? Ironically, we're probably sending AI out there. So we're living longer, yet ironically, we're now seeing the side effects of long-term use of seed oils. And I think, what's huge is the amount of seed oils being used in all of our products. And so there's a couple of seed oils we're talking about here. We're talking about canola oil, sunflower seed oils, soybean oils, and grapeseed oils. Mm-hmm. And we're not here to give you the numbers. There's so many episodes and so many shows out there who spend an hour talking about the effects, the different oils and what they're made of. But soybean oil, if you guys didn't know, 1,000% up since 1900 to 1999. Now we're already about like 25 years into that number. And, I'm sure that number didn't go down because suddenly in 2000 we got better. If anything, now we're starting to push and having more studies to show that a lot of seed oils here are actually causing a lot of our problems. So we'll talk a little bit more about some of these symptoms and problems of seed oils. But really, let's talk more about what seed oils are, where they're found. Because a lot of times, how many of you guys are actually looking at every ingredient list in that grocery store before you put that package in your shopping cart, right? And that's a conversation we should be having, because if you don't know what to look for in these ingredient lists, that's why you're constantly eating seed oils. And the studies have shown that a little bit a day, probably not much. The problem is you're eating it for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner, and every snack in between. And after a year, you're now fully filled with this seed oil. And this is where a lot of these medical issues that we're running into are happening.
Yes. And I believe autoimmune diseases as well. I recently spoke to a coworker I work with, and they said they suffer from an autoimmune disease. But as of late, they've changed their diet, cut out sugar. They eat 6 ounces of like a ribeye for breakfast, and they're eating more peptides, and they do like a protein shake at night. And they were saying that they haven't felt better. And I thought, there's a remedy when you pick out the things that aren't good for your body, and you can start with that. But I also want to... There's a lot of doom and gloom, okay? But we make it fun, we make it cute, we do our best. But Charlie, can you tell the people what are some healthier fats and oils? I know we're gonna get there, but just from you named the canola, the grapeseed, the vegetable oils, the hyper processed oils. But what are some good ones? And if you said the snacks and cakes and things in between, what are, after naming the oils, the good ones, what are some, or maybe I can speak on it too, what are some healthy breakfast, lunch, dinner meals that we could exchange it for?
Before we get to that, just because I want you guys to understand how deep the problem is before we fill it up with the good stuff. Because the good stuff we can have a long conversation on. But, whether or not seed oils is a problem today is a controversial topic. Some doctors do not believe that seed oils are bad for us. And so I want to have a deeper conversation because I actually want to get into real talk about what's your experience with seed oils. I've had experience with seed oils, and that's why I stop. And I half of the time you'll see me in the grocery store looking at the ingredients list, going "fuck," and then just putting back in,
Putting
and
it
just
back,
constantly
putting it
"fuck,"
back.
and just getting so annoyed
3
that
hours
everything,
later.
I know,
Oh
and
my
you've got only an
gosh.
orange,
Gee whiz.
you've got
One
some
banana,
fruits and
just
vegetables.
a piece of ice. That's it. That's right.
I know, you have to check the ice. Oh, is this ice made with
Oh
oil?
Dang.
So
they get us good, man.
It is. And my story is I love sugars, and I didn't know that. Not just sugars. I love candy. I love sweets. In general, if you pay attention to your constitutions, like fire sign types tend to run a lot of fire, so they tend to need energy. And so, if you know, the quickest source of energy are simple carbs, simple sugars, which turns out to be in today's readily available form, sugars, candies. Back in the days, they used to be fruits, and I could grab a fruit, get the minerals, get the electrolytes, get the sugars, the fructose sugars, not the sucrose and glucose sugars, but the fructose sugars, and I'd be on my way building up and generating fire. Today, I went through many changes. It was back in college for me. Really bad acne, really bad sebum, like my face was just blowing out, breaking out constantly. And at the time, I'm still a boba fan, but back in the days, it was like boba every meal. And so I was
Every meal?
Every meal. I was
What?
that was when boba just became popular. Okay, today now it's like
No, you're Mr. Boba.
obvious.
I didn't
I'm
know
Mr.
it.
Boba, but back in the days it was every meal. Today it's
Dang.
like once or
Wow.
twice a week max, right? And that's if only I've done really well.
That's wild.
But yeah, like at one point, I just didn't understand. Is it sugars? Is it the carbs? You know, and people will tell you, oh, you're too much fats, too much carbs, cut that out, or too much meat. At one point, we thought red meat was bad for us, right? And so I cut out meat. And so then you end up eating, sweets. You end up eating vegetables and salads, and you're constantly being bombarded.
And then like fruit.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you're constantly being bombarded by really unhealthy foods. But what ended up happening is a lot of the seed oils were in a lot of our foods, a lot of our processed foods. So anything that you get that is in a package that's ready to go might have been cooked in seed oil. I was a big ramen fan at the time. During college, the quickest meal was 50-cent ramen.
You
right?
and everyone else.
So $1.50, I could fill myself up with lunch, breakfast. I didn't eat breakfast ramen, okay, but I did eat lunch and dinner ramen, right? And that was like a $3, right? Back in the days, college, $3 meal could get you through the day, right? And then you throw in some candy, and you're probably set to like study, right? And so I went to the doctors. I went to all these doctors to see, and they're like, "Oh, take all these drugs, or like go and lose like 150 pounds." I was like, "But I'm only 180. How am I gonna lose 150 pounds?" And they look at me like I was retarded. I'm like, "No, you're retarded. You don't know how to add math. Like, I cannot lose this much weight." So that was the beginning of my disillusion for healthcare. It was college days. And I was at USC, around the USC Health Science Center. And I was going to supposedly the best doctors that, this side of the West Coast could buy. And so constantly I was asking these experts, what is wrong with me? And they're like, we don't know, Charlie. Just take these pills because and it's always your blood work looks like you're the exception to the rule. And I'm like, how many people have you told that lie to? Like, why are we all the exception to the rule? What's your rule that says that we should be this problem, right? And so many of them never told me about my diet, nothing, right? And so what ended up happening is I ended up going online to look for some kind of solution for acne. And there was this book that I paid $5 for, right? And I was like, it might be not legit because what does the internet know? Back in 2000, I was like, what does the internet know that a doctor won't know, right? So I was like, fine, but $5, it cost me nothing to spend $5 to read this book. It was like 500 pages. I spent days reading that book. I was like blown away by the amount of content it had about all the things I was eating that was causing me inflammation, liver enzyme deficiency or excess, liver fats everyone talks about today, right? Hormone issues. I was having too many hormones coming back to my body, and your body was overtaxed. So it was releasing toxins. And a lot of these toxins were these oils, were these sugars, were basically all the processed food are really good toxins for bacteria. So a lot of this toxins came, and I'm a very sweaty person. I sweat very easily. So I build up a lot of heat and I start sweating. And in Chinese medicine, it's very good because you're constantly flushing your systems of toxins. The problem is that you're flushing your systems of toxins, the bacteria on your face is constantly feeding on that toxin. And that was causing a lot of my acne. So really, the West said, yes, it's a bacteria issue you're eating these toxins in your pores, so let's deal with the bacteria. First of all, you guys really think you can end bacteria? No, okay? Bacteria is everywhere. No matter what, you can put like a rubbing alcohol thing on yourself and you turn left and like bacteria just jumped on that face, right? Yeah. So that wasn't the problem. It was the fact that my system was constantly releasing toxins, and these toxins were these seed oils. And so I went on a human hiatus. I stopped seeing people. Because the problem is when you go hang out with your friends, people want to eat, want to drink, and want to do things around food. It's a very common thing, right?
Yeah, that's
I just couldn't see people. People were like, oh, Charlie, eat with me. And they're like, no, I won't eat that stuff. I'm eating this apple. And they're like, is something wrong with you? I'm like, yeah, it is.
Wow.
But
that's real.
But they thought I was weird because I was fasting or I was just eating low sugars, low carbs. But yet my body was changing. And so as much as
felt the change.
I felt the change.
Immediately?
Well, no, it took months.
Okay.
Because just removing oils from your body is not enough.
Not enough.
Because the years that your body...
oversaturated.
Right. So adipose tissue doesn't know what to do with seed oils. It doesn't. So what does it do? It stores it. You know how many hoarders today, even with Amazon...
Is that why cellulite looks like that?
Yes.
Oh, women, I got you. Don't worry, sis. Detox your body.
So
Get
what's
summertime fun.
What's happening with adipose tissue? It's just like today, and I see this all the time in people's homes. Everybody's got cardboards everywhere because everyone is doing Amazon shopping now. And
Yikes.
No one's buying stuff, right? So you're constantly getting bombarded by
You've been found
boxes and boxes and boxes, right? And so those boxes, you think, oh, I don't want to waste it. I don't want to recycle it. So I hoard it for now, right? That's what your body is doing. It doesn't know what to do with seed oils. It doesn't know what to do with food cooked in seed oil. And if you guys know, seed oil burns the minerals, burns the atomic structure of food. And so constantly we're seeing the atomic structure of food degrading because the seed oil is so hot, burning the fundamental structure. And so when you're eating that food, you're already eating food that's starting to degrade. Oof. And so your body's constantly not eating any food that has minerals because the food is constantly being degraded by your seed oils. So your body's not getting the immune fighting nutrients that it needs to fight. And then you're constantly bombarding it with toxins and seed oils.
But also it's preservatives. And what came to me is that's the whole, I don't know if it's like buildup on the pineal gland, but that's like, it's adjacent to seed oils and whatever preserves food to have a longer shelf life. I realize, I don't want to say poop is not strong enough, but the natural body functions to eliminate waste in the body cannot handle the weight of toxicity of, how do I say it?
The toxic overload of the body.
Yeah, but why I'm saying this is that, like, it's not enough to say, I'm going to go on a diet and fast and have a cheat day. That cheat day is what sets you back and you stay there. And I'm saying just like if we saw the body as hoarding and storing and allowing it to release, we wouldn't put our bodies through so much. And I think that's like ultimately why every vegan is vegan. They're like, it's easy on the body and the mind, less karma. And I'm like, but meat. But
that'll be another episode. I think the vegan meat conversation would be a whole separate. It needs to have its own show. But let's address just again the seed oils, because I think you bring up a very important conversation here. Is your body naturally has the ability to release toxin, to flush its system out, and to regenerate the body. However, our modern lifestyle has made it very difficult to use any of our natural abilities for releasing toxins. So one major thing is fasting, right? We're seeing that problem today. Not even just fasting, because fasting has become like a new trend, which is ironic because it used to be an everyday thing occurrence.
Right.
We didn't fast because we wanted to. We used to fast because we didn't have enough food, right? And so what's happened now is we're constantly have food. And as soon as you feel a little hunger, you're like, I need food, right? You don't wait for that hunger to like become so bad that you're not eating, but you're like, oh, I'm feeling hungry. And then you start downing food. And so you're telling your body constantly that it's got to build from the food that you're giving. And so it never has time to rest. So that's one. And if seed oil is in every food that you're eating while you're getting hungry, you can see that slowly it's like the garbage. It's like taking out the trash, right? Once a week, we get the city to pick up the trash. Well, what if you put the trash out and the city didn't come every week, but it came once a month, right? That trash would start to litter around the street. That's kind of like how toxins stay in our bloodstream. So when we do blood work and you see all these toxins, is because they're being released on the streets in our bloodstream because there's no exiting of these toxins, outlet for the toxin. So sweat is a major one. So how many of us aren't sweating? How many of us are living in air-conditioned room? And how many of us, as soon as we sweat, we take a shower and we're like afraid of sweating, right?
Yeah. And just like even before camping, just I know oodle of people like, I'm not trying to be outside. Like it's that. And it's like, why not? Like we came from the outside. Like after you step outside your house, it's the outside. Like the outside is not after you.
Exactly.
You know? If anything, it's there for you. And the inside's after you.
Yes.
The inside's out to get you.
So seed oil is a huge factor in a lot of our today's diseases. However, the environment itself also compounded the factors of how bad your health was, how bad your emotional stability was, and then how well you were able to deal with toxins. And so if your whole world is filled with toxins, the clothes you're wearing, the atmosphere bombarded by toxins, you're constantly getting a toxic overload, right? And so then the body gets very exhausted because it never gets a chance to really release the toxins. So that's why this deeper conversation of food and seed oil is such a big deal, because it is a thing that we do every day. Like, the number one thing, and you notice this in business, most of the businesses around us are food stores, restaurants, grocery stores, and drink stores, right? So those are the most prevalent stores because we're a race that eats a lot, right? And I'll say that more specifically the South here, because we're in Houston, Texas, in the South. So we eat well here. And so because of that, we're constantly bombarded, right? And so, and people love their fried food here, and fried food is 100% used through these seed oils. And then going back to that preservative concept, right? The reason why they said, is to preserve the food so it has a longer shelf life. If food lasts for a year and doesn't break down and die, you should not assume that is food.
If your food doesn't mold, throw it away. But that's what I was going to say. I lost my train of thought, and that's what it was. The body is not meant to digest, process, and excrete preservatives. Preservatives is not a food type or something that is required in our food to live and lead a healthy life. And the reason why I stress this is because as a pastry chef of many years, there's a lot of preservatives that go in the jellies, the jams, the pâte fouille, the creams, the custards, the curds, the buttercreams, the icings. I make it by hand, ganache, And I always thought, like, there's got to be an alternative way. It can't just be sugar and processed. It cannot be. And in actually even going to Paris or not, it's just sugar, processed, and organic. But the point is, I realized that if we can all see our body as the baby we came into this earth, we'd be softer and gentler, and we would make better decisions that would set us up better for the future, Because no one is going to say it per se. We all want a long, healthy life. But anyone who sees an elder or an older person, 65 and 70 and above, and they just don't look well, hunched over, like just struggling, whatever modality, yes, we can just say, oh man, they've lived a long life and like look at how they got there. But it's the repetitive decision to see, feel, sense seed oils and just take it and do it again. It's like the addiction of anything. And what I realize is that if you choose better today, like you'll make healthier decisions tomorrow. But it's seed oils, yes, but it's the war on preservatives. And it's the industrialization. We never realized after making food to send it to the war. And then when the war ended and they came back and we started overproducing food, we didn't know what to do with it. We should have been composting more, starting to just change pars and make less. Instead, we started to hoard food. And thank God for deep freezers, refrigeration, and things of this nature. But in hoarding it, it's taught us all as Americans to hoard. And that's the preservative conversation next to pesticides. Yeah. So if you get nothing from this conversation, understand that your body is a temple, and you should really just be so choosy and watchful for what comes in, because you can't choose what comes out.
Yeah. You can if you know how to use your tools of your body.
Yeah. But the main point I actually wanted to make from that is we've lost the deep necessary ability to feel our bodies. If we took something and said, oh, that made us feel bad, well, then let me do it again, or let me not. That's how we see what's good and bad for us. Because it's like we could talk about seed oils till we turn blue in the face. It's when you've just had that deep fried Oreo or whatever that's been refried in the same oil, and you just say, well, that's sugar, I should feel upset. No, just put it down. Stop it.
Yeah. And I think it's because we tend to not think ahead of time for things. So like when we're hungry, you'll get those French fries from McDonald's, and you start taking that one bite, second bite, and you're like, these French fries. I remember when I was a kid. And that's all I ate.
Yeah.
Right? And so, fine. And then an hour later, you're like, oh, I feel like shit. Oh my God, what do I need to do? Oh, I know what to do. I'm going to eat a sugary drink because I feel so down in my energy. So then you get that next dopamine hit or whatever energy boost. And then you get out of the caffeine, like, oh, my head hurts, blah, 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 blah. Oh, I know what to do. Candy or sugar or whatever. And it's this constant masking of the problem of the last food you ate, and you just don't have time to process that food. So you're going to add another food on top because what? You're probably on an 8-hour job trying to get shit done. And you just can't go and take a siesta for an hour because your body's going to start, your boss and everybody's going to say, oh, you're being unproductive. You're not a useful.
It goes just like
code.
that.
Yeah. And so even going back to the word preservative it's not preserving your body. It's preserving the food because the people who made the food doesn't ever want to lose money for that food.
It's preserving chemicals.
It's preserving chemicals.
Food doesn't need it.
Yes.
That's why it expires.
Right. Well, technically, we should be eating food as it's made. The problem is half of the food that we are eating that is in grocery store, when was it made?
When was it made?
That's the question. And that's why we need preservatives, right? And so the preservatives are there to make sure that the food looks pretty in the shelves so that when you look at it, you go, wow. We are inherently supposed to look at food and go, it looks pretty, I can eat it, right? This is what women grew up with, and men were hunting and looking for like the most healthy animal to get. Women are like, that fruit looks amazing, let's go and get it. It's so colorful, it looks vibrant, let's go pick it down. It looks pretty. And so today when you see the food, you're like, that looks pretty. It must be healthy. Turns out it's like 20,000 preservative to make it look like it looks
coloring.
Exactly the same day it came out of the store.
Exactly.
And you see these expiration dates 2 years from now, you're like, what kind of food lasts 2 years? What kind of ding dong lasts 2 years?
No.
What kind of ho-ho and Twinkie? And you heard the anecdotes that like in an apocalypse, just hope that Twinkie's still around. Should you be eating Twinkie when everything is gone and there's no more food left? Maybe, but like that food didn't die and was preserved for so long that maybe there's an issue with that, right? And that's kind of where we unfortunately missed the mark on creating food when we were trying to preserve our profits rather than to preserve the sanctity of human life.
Let's breathe. Y'all got greedy.
So our next topic into this is let's go into the side effects, the health issues, the health problems that many people see just because, yes, you might know to not eat some of this food. You might choose to start looking at the ingredient list, but how many of you understand what symptoms are probably caused by this food, right? And so let's start to address some of these common illnesses that we run into that today is rampant. And no one is, many of us experts and studies are not talking about it. Even now we're taking it to Congress and saying, Congress, you need to change the laws against these lobbying of these preservative and foods. But no one is talking about in the medical space, hey guys, doctors are not saying, hey, you guys should stop these seed oils. Some are, but they're being unfortunately suppressed, getting taken offline or happen to be missing and disappeared from people, right? And so the conversation is, what are we seeing that's showing up in the medical space that doctors today can't even address? And I think the major one is, you just talked about it earlier, autoimmune was a big one, and it's a systemic problem. You notice inflammation is a problem. It's a systemic problem. What you notice is a lot of these seed oil problems don't happen. It usually does start in the gut first. I happen to see that most of it happens in the gut. But by the time it's become a systemic issue, the gut has started to replace their own body nutrients with these preservatives and chemicals, forever chemicals in our body. And so once these forever chemicals reach it affects multiple parts of your body, it becomes a systemic problem. That's why you have autoimmune. That's why today's inflammation is no longer a joint inflammation. Barely anyone has joint inflammation. Everyone's got full body inflammation, right? Fibromyalgia is another version of that.
Sciatica?
Sciatica could be. I think it's in some sense because of the nerve and the muscles. But I think that's more of a sedentary issue.
Sedentary.
Yeah, sitting down too long, right? So our muscles atrophy or they get inflamed. So yes, I think in some sense inflammation, because then some inflammation causes nerve issues. I think those sciatica specifically is our sitting and driving all day long that has caused that. However, when you are being in inflammation, then sitting down all day long is detrimental.
Well, see, I know someone who does it, who's a cake decorator of 20 years, and she's has it from standing on her feet, I suppose. She wasn't sitting.
Yeah, so
it's the same, but standing.
Technically, it's not just sitting. It's actually any long-term non-movement.
Non-movement.
So like standing and doing cakes, her upper body's moving, so that's why she's not getting upper body issues, but her legs, hips, right?
Are steady.
Are steady. They're standing. And sometimes you kind of go back and forth between legs because sometimes you get tired of standing right. I mean, most of us aren't sitting on both legs, right? A lot of what I noticed too in a lot of muscle manipulation, everyone has got one leg that's smaller than the other, right? Because what happens is people lean a lot. They lean a lot. And so what happened is one side gets that dominant lean, causing the sciatica in that hip issue. So because she's been standing all day long, that muscle starts to get inflamed and start to kind of contract, and it contracts next to the sciatica nerve. So the same thing comes up here with the neck. You see these little hunchback necks, right? We're like, I don't know if you can see it, the hunchback neck, because it leans forward. And so you get these muscle inflammations causing the nerve damage, causing the calcification. And so everything comes down to the arms, and then you start to see neuropathy on the hands. right?
Wow.
And so neuropathy on the hands is common too. And this is now you see, oh, diabetes happen to be connected to neuropathy. Exactly. Diabetes is inflammation's gone so bad, it's just now padded with fluids on the whole body. But if you have diabetes, you most likely have inflammation. However, today they kind of say diabetes is an insulin problem. Well, insulin tolerance is not walking after eating and moving the circulation to process the food you ate, but it is also these preservatives of the forever chemicals. That is, your body is now. Where to put it? Hey, just put it on the neck over here because they made their neck really long now.
It can carry it.
Yeah, because the neck can handle the extra because the neck is long enough to carry this extra.
Holy cow!
Adipose tissue.
Because your body is talking to you like that. If you're not listening to your body's talking to your inner working bodies like that, and that's interesting. But if you're quiet enough, I bet if you meditate long enough and you listen, it's telling you, I need to fix my posture. We all have the mothers. Sit up straight. Don't slouch.
I still hear my mom in Vietnamese say, sit up straight. And it's never, oh, baby, sit up straight. It's more, sit up straight now. And you're like, oh, fuck.
Oh,
and so there's moments where I'm like,
straight.
I like have to sit up straight because I hear my mom's voice.
My mother too, Caribbean mothers. I know. That's why I said it.
Yeah, and I studied a lot, so she knew I was like slouching all day long.
Exactly. But weren't they right?
They were
Don't
right.
they know?
I mean, I've got this grades, but man, did I have a slouch.
Don't they know? The slouchy.
So yeah, another thing I noticed too is edema. Edema is water retention, water fluids, right? And so a lot of times, and I see this with water elements, or sometimes fire signs. The problem with some water elements is if they don't understand the control of their water situation, then the water becomes excess. So a lot of times what happens with edema is that the fire within you, so fire signs too, if the fire starts to dim and drown, then the fluids overtake the fire. And so the fire is not able to evaporate the fluids that is excess. When you have a lot of fire, you'll notice that you don't have that edema because a lot of times this edema will I sweat it out. I don't have edema because I sweat it out.
Same.
Right? And so we don't have that issue.
A lymphatic
but if I notice
drainage.
that if I'm not, like for the last couple of months, I've been so busy, I haven't been able to get my regular workouts, I was feeling neuropathy.
Really?
And I was like, oh crap. My circulation is not moving enough, that my heat is not building up heat. And so now the adipose tissue, the sugars, the whatever, because a lot of times cholesterol, sugars, we call it dampness, phlegm in Chinese medicine, that is a resistance to the electrical/fire that is traveling in our fascia, in our whole body, circulation, right? So if the heat is moving around and it runs into cholesterol or adipose tissue or like fat cells, have you guys seen fat cells? They're like rubber. So electricity cannot go through there. What happens with electricity that can't get to your hands, right? You get that tingling feeling. If you now have all this edema, all these cholesterol, these issues that's causing the electrical current to come in, you're going to have this neuropathy because electricity is not able to get there, right? So that's why a lot of times we do acupuncture. You can put needles past the tissue and then they start to make an electrical connection. You're like, wow, I can feel the electricity coming through my hand. I go, yeah, so by the electricity coming through, it's kind of melting some of that fats. But if that fat is not being released, right? Then it gets recongealed in the same spot. It melts and goes back. Exactly. So that's why our bodies, that's why like a lot of times when I see people who have a lot of edema, you should ask them, do you sweat a lot? And if they say no, then they have a sweating heat issue, right?
Okay.
But their fluid metabolism is broken too.
But those are the people that need to either get out of air conditioning and go to the beach or go to the beach and get out of air conditioning, whichever one.
Yes.
This reminds me of when I was being treated in physical therapy for a car accident I was in with my mother, and I had to get radiation on both of my wrists because my wrists were tweaked at the time we were hit. And it was the wildest feeling. First of all, radiation. Okay, what the heck? Humans. Second, on my wrist, we brush our teeth and drive and do this and dance with our hands. So my wrists felt like, so I had arthritis in both of my wrists. and I was treated with a TENS unit on them. And then the radiation was the final thing to say, like, this is what we got. Let's see. And there was immediate relief, but my wrists felt like butter. My arms became like frying pans, and I felt the blood currents, the cholesterol, and the arthritis evaporating and moving through my wrists. And for that day, weeks after, it felt amazing. I had, I think, 4 sessions of it. Anyways, I say that to say I should have been doing more detoxing and sweating at the time. That hadn't come in. I was doing a lot of ginger teas, salves, balms, and baths, but I didn't have that information, but I felt it. And that's just a really cool thing, because maybe it's adjacent to acupuncture, but it's real. Or like capillaries, arteries,
So
having
it's
it built
not
up is
adjacent
necessary.
to acupuncture, but we have something called cupping and scraping. So cupping and scraping brings blood, brings heat. Then moxibustion is basically mugwort on fire, bringing heat into the body. So we don't use intense radiation, which is high frequency,
Of course.
which is basically what allopathic medicine loves. They love the high intense emergency shit, right? But for us, it'd be like, hey, put some moxa. Moxa is basically, it's like giant incense that smells like weed, okay? That's why like a lot of people always go, are you guys smoking weed in here? No, dude, it's moxa. And it's not, but it smells similar if you don't know anything about that. And so you put it wherever there's problems with like circulation, right? So we often put in acupuncture points, but you could have done it in your arms.
Oh, really?
And that would heat up your arms. And then that smoke apparently moves blood.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I believe that.
So this moxibustion was very powerful. And
I'd
that
still
was
like
a
to try it,
version
dude.
of radiation. I did it on you when I put that heat.
Oh,
Yeah,
dude,
that's what it
Charlie
was.
makes house calls. And let me tell you, my favorite. I'll just being laid up in bed like, oh, God, doctor, help me. And Charlie's like, okay, let me cut the energy. Let me do my dance. Breathe, Blossom, breathe. And I'm always like, oh, God, I feel it in my chest. I'm alive again. So anyways, if you want some real healing immediately, that will make you feel better soon. I mean, PMS symptoms, nausea, pain, inflammation. Charlie got you. Anyways, shameless plug.
Thank you.
Someone sponsor this guy.
So I ran into a lot of inflammation. Arthritis is very much inflammation. It's the same concept.
I believe.
Yeah.
Because I don't even claim it. I just realized I need more rest and more modalities to move the things in my body. Because what my hands have done, what this body has seen, how I live my life is incredible. I wouldn't change a thing. I just would say less inflammation, less pain. But it's not like a just changing my entire lifestyle to accommodate the pain. Like, that seems ridiculous. And in fact, oh God, I fought my doctor at the time. She was my physical therapist, was adjusted my legs, this leg shorter than, she was amazing. Dr. Ashley, I love you. But I was like, oh my God, you're diagnosing me with arthritis in both of my wrists. I'm a chef. What do I do? She's like, do nothing different. Just continue living life the exact same. I was like, okay, well, see you tomorrow. I was like, what? Like, you know, I was freaking out. And what she was trying to do was prepare me for the fall, prepare me for disappointment, and prepare me for the rest of my life. She's like, you're 26 or 7. You love what you do. And if I tell you to stop, your hands probably will atrophy to some extent. And if I tell you to go harder, you probably will. So just keep your pace, do it. And best advice I could have ever taken, because I would have given up. I would have just stopped and all these things. And I wouldn't have, like, when I started golfing, I didn't have a thing to fill in the thing. So I took my time. I went slower. I meditated more, and I breathed deeper as I was getting through my work, and it worked. So I wish I had not the neuropathic high intensity healing. It works kind of, but I would have preferred a more holistic approach. I just don't feel doctors, lawyers, and rehabilitation has caught up to like health insurance and like modern day like what people need, you know? Sometimes people that are in a crisis don't need a hospital. Maybe they need a mental hospital. Maybe they need a hug. But everyone's just like, oh, here's a number. We'll figure it out.
You said what people need to hear. Your naturopathic medicine should be something that is over the counter in your house. But when your medical treatment is supervised by your insurance company, who's not a doctor or medical advice, how are they in charge of your healing? And that's another day for another conversation. But what? Your insurance that you pay your own money out of pocket to tell them to protect you when you're sick will tell you what you can and cannot do for your health. That's the deeper conversation is they're not giving you the stuff that you need. And that's why, unfortunately, everybody is sick and no one is getting any help. And everyone's going broke from getting sick.
Off it.
Are you kidding me?
I'm going to Costa Rica.
Yeah.
Don't worry. Don't worry about me. I'll be
I say bring Costa Rica
over
here,
the
right?
rainbow.
Because even that, I think it's really funny that a lot of us, joke about, escaping and going to Costa Rica.
There's no escape.
There isn't.
There's
You're
just
going
a
to
more
Costa
beautiful
Rica,
view.
You think seed oils are not in Costa Rica?
Oh yeah, I'm bringing my own organic extra virgin olive oil. I'm finding a virgin olive
I've got
branch.
an olive branch here. I'm just going to squeeze the
I'm finding
oil.
organic coconut oil. What are you saying, man? I'm an island gal. I don't need all this here.
So one of the major things that I noticed from, and I wasn't a doctor all the time. I started as a computer engineer, right? So at computer science, I was in the tech space. And during my engineering days, like people were like probably 46, closer to 50 to 60 were having arthritis. It was never anyone who was 20, 30, 40. I never heard anyone who was at that age getting arthritis, right? And then,
too young.
And then I go to acupuncture school, and then I'm in the clinic, and I see this young 25-year-old girl. She comes in and is like, and she's skinny. She's been like working, right? And she's like, I got arthritis. And I was like, what? That was not in the bingo card of problems. Like they didn't say that arthritis came down to 25 years old.
Wow.
And that's when I had my own deep journey of figuring out why are these younger people having all these issues that we as adults, my parents
we as
and
adults.
older people. I choose not to be an adult. I choose to be a child at heart. I may look old, but I'm a child still. Everyone's just getting diseases, even today now, right? It's like IVF at 25 or 30 because people can't have children.
Wow.
There's diabetes used to be a much later issue. Today now, what are they, 14, 15, and they got diabetes?
What?
Yeah, this diabetes is like a high school issue now. That is not a 30, 40-year-old problem. It used to be a 50-year-old problem.
I didn't know.
So
I still feel like it is.
Yeah. So I asked my doctors, like, doctor, how are they 25 years old and arthritis? And they go and look at me and go, don't call it arthritis. Look at the disease, right? And so we looked at the disease.
Okay.
Stress. Inflammation. What is inflammation? It's on fire. If you guys don't know your Latin, inflame, okay? That means that something is causing fire, okay? So if you look deeper into seed oils, into how these fats are made, they don't hold they burn really hard, fast. They don't hold their heat. So what happened is it started to degrade food and degrade everything. And so when that's showing up in the body, and especially with the lack of fluids, now for her specifically, she was overworking. She was overworking so hard, she wasn't eating enough to buffer the stress and cortisol she was adding to her body. So the stress and cortisol was what's on fire. Do you guys know what cortisol and adrenaline is? It's a hot hormone that gives you the heat to escape from death. Okay?
Wow.
Escape from death. You have to get all this energy to escape from death. And so if you're showing up to work and you're like, your boss like, you better finish that by the end of the day, you think you're going to die. So your body gets hot. You guys see anxiety? You don't get anxiety and you sweat because you're hot. You never get anxiety and go, oh, I'm so cold, right? That's a different problem. You usually get anxiety and you start sweating. You get the stinky armpits, right? Inflame, you're on fire. So your arthritis now, you've been coding, programming, typing to your damn secretary or whatever all day long, right? 24/7. And now you're like, oh, my arthritis. Have you stopped typing? No, I'm still typing while I'm like getting my fingers, my hands checked. I'm like, dude, put it on your phone. Like, seriously, you need to check your hands. I go, but I got to answer emails. Your arthritis is not the problem. It's your job that's causing you the arthritis, right?
Yeah.
And so, but your doctor or even the person who's coming in go, but how am I going to pay for your service right now? Look, you just work less and don't even show up here. That would be a much more cost-effective problem.
Oh, my God.
And people don't want to hear that. I'd be so honest to tell people, hey, I don't want to see you. Just go get better health. Stop going to work. Spend less money getting money so that you don't spend that money to go to your doctor.
Dr. Charlie in the building, in the mix. Put some respect on his name. Dr. Charlie.
Dancing is really good for you too, right? Because when you're dancing, you're moving your body, right? It doesn't matter how weird you dance, right? You could be an Egyptian. You could be a Vogue, Madonna Vogue. You could be Pong.
Oh, come on, Bogan.
Pong.
Oh.
Or, anyways.
So that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, even the laughter, right? You guys laugh to the point where you're like afterward, like, oh, I feel good. And you don't feel that inflammation, right?
Oh, we're good for them. We're good for them. We're good for them.
So it's a good time
Don't
for
go
us
to your doctors. Come see Dr. Charlie, okay? Laugh a while.
No
quit
medical
your job.
advice. We're not giving you medical advice.
We have zero medical advice.
Entertainment only. And
We love
just
you
in
guys.
general, too, I will tell all people, everybody I meet, you are a unique individual being who has its own personal constitution and own environmental factors of your health. So why is a random stranger giving you the same fucking prescription that the other guy who's 10 times bigger than you, 10 times smaller than you, or a woman is getting the same drugs as you are for the same problem? It makes no sense, y'all. It makes no sense.
Zero.
And so that's why, like, everything we're telling you right now, do your own research, know your blood type, know your constitutional elements, and know what kind of medicine helps you. Don't ever listen to the 20,000 people that say, oh, that worked for you. You might be that person that it doesn't work for because those 20,000 people that say it works for them, probably water signs and you're fire sign. Guess what? That's probably not going to work for you.
Yes. And other thing, once you find out your medicine, write it down, hold it near and dear to your heart, and practice your medicine, and don't let anyone take it from you. This could be journaling, meditation, yoga, cold plunge, sauna,
Running,
eating green foods, running, slowing down and being with yourself, camping, yoni steaming, sacral steaming, whatever it is. Guess what? A few and most of them are my medicines. And I only know this because I went through years of trying to convince others that it was theirs or to give it. And guess what? I just got lost, demotivated, and confused. Know your medicine and keep it, but also explore it. And I want to say two things, Charlie. If you can give us a solution to all of these woes, and if you can also, just before you change this, talk about these lymphatic nodes and what problems come to these nodes, and then the solutions, please.
Yeah. Lymphatic
Because
is another one, too.
We feel all this, both armpits, arms,
the shoulders, the heart, the
elbows,
joints,
groin.
your stomach, and then your groin. Right? Yes. So heat was one. The other piece we talked about is edema, and that's your lymphatic fluids. And that's become super popular now because people who have lymphatic issues, water signs, people who have inflammation, most likely fire signs. And so that's what you're seeing these two. You're not getting both, right? And if you're getting lymphatic and arthritis and inflammation, you're in big trouble because now you have to deal with fire and water at the same time. It's a deficiency excess problem. It's much difficult in our body. It's much easier to remove things that shouldn't be there and then keep the things that are there versus it's hard to fill up the things that you're missing while you're removing things that shouldn't be there, right? It's like a house party by your teenage kids. You're like, shit, how do I remove everybody who's here underage, but like make sure nothing breaks and, I'm keeping...
Hard to do.
Yeah. Exactly. Call the cops and they're going to move fast but break everything on the way out, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that's very difficult to do is to recognize what is the excess problem and what is the deficiency. And so lymphatic is the fluids. And now we're starting to hear about fascia, and everybody's, fascia this, fascia that. Fascia is a huge network in your body. It's what is the underlying concept of acupuncture, lymphatic fluids, neuropathy, everything. Consciousness lives in your whole body. That's why your hands are consciously different than your mind, than your heart, than your lower body organs, right? Your sexual organs. You know it has a different consciousness than the ones in here. And so all of this in this fascia layer, liquid crystal, and this liquid crystal is connected to our spiritual energy and our etheric energy. And so I say that because a lot of the lymphatic issues is a lot of spiritual disconnection. And so what happened is your liquid inside of you isn't listening to spirit, isn't disconnected from spirit, so it's not really listening to itself. So what happens, a lot of these nodes get filled with fluids. And now today what we're finding out is scraping. Some people call it scraping.
Or dry brushing.
Dry brushing. Basically, it's lymphatic fluid is not deep tissue where you're going deep into the muscle. You're just draining this under the skin. Under the skin, not under the muscles, okay? Lymphatic is above the muscles under the skin. So usually like lymphatics, right? That's why you sweat here. There's glands right here. You see there's no muscles. No one tries to work out this part of their body. So a lot of times lymphatics show up where we sweat a lot. And so that's what I was saying. If you don't sweat, your lymphatics are getting overstimulated because they're never releasing. And so your nodes are getting filled, and they're basically those sacs are getting bigger. And then eventually when the sacs are full, it just sends those fluids everywhere. So now your lymphatic fluid is filled up your entire fascia. And then that's why you start getting those people have those soft hanging tissues. That's because all this water in the skin and the lymphatic is just overwhelmed. So really, if you are doing lymphatic flushes, it's as simple as just jumping for like a minute. You've seen those rebound machines now. People are just jumping on rebounding trampolines. Mm-hmm. Look, a lot of the stuff you said earlier, even what we're talking about, just jumping around, hopping for a minute is great for lymphatic, right? Reset. But they're like, hey, we're modern and we need people to pay for all their health. So guess what? We didn't invent, but they made the trampoline really small. And now you get to rebound on trampoline for a minute. Because you don't know how to do it without a trampoline. Yes, you do. Our ancestors did it without a trampoline. Yeah. Okay? Yeah. And so today, a lot of stuff that we talk about, which is if your medicine is all these things, guess what? Your ancestors did them before modern science showed up. And so a lot of times today, I like to think like modern science follows political science now. It doesn't follow real science. And if you wanted to talk about real science, you would have known that fascia and acupuncture points have been working for thousands of years. But because we're living in political science, people call us pseudoscience because they're following political science, not real science. There's 1,001 studies on acupuncture and all the things that it does. But political science believe that modern science is better than everybody else. There's, again, this superior complex because it's forgotten everything. Yet, ironically, now today, scraping has become super popular. Guess what? The fucking ancient medicine come back for modern age. You guys are just remembering it. You guys did not invent scraping and lymphatic massage. That lymphatic massage has been called scraping for thousands of years that our ancestors used to do and used to touch each other all the time. Today, we're afraid of fucking touching each other. That's why we have to pay someone to touch us. In Texas, you have to pay someone to touch you to get you healing. What the F?
We didn't know what it was, but COVID did this. This is
it was before COVID, but yes.
Before COVID. Naturally,
racism did it. You wouldn't even want to touch people because they were another race.
Way back. Yeah. I'm just saying, in today, in 2023,
right definitely after racism going on still. Of course, but
naturally. But COVID really just broke that eighth wall that we were fragile.
COVID made it in our face, made it obvious.
We were at a fragile point in community and touching one another's in clubs. Clubs were just about to peak again. They were dead. I was there. Anyways, COVID. So we love you. Thank you for your catalyst.
Exactly. So let's now move into the healing and the solutions that we like to offer to all of you as we're kind of finishing our show. Just because we brought up a lot of things today, and if you notice, we're constantly really selling you all the same shit every day.
Who is we?
the show, Medicine from Our Hands, right?
Oh.
This whole idea, we're constantly giving you the same solution. And yes, it might sound super boring and super cheap,
Is it
but
the same? I don't know if it's the same.
it's constantly the same. It's breathe correctly, rest, nature, and meditation. Like a lot of these practices really teach you how to be in tune with yourself. And then from there, all of the medicine and treatments you need show up, right? And that's why we push a lot of people out camping with us. Because I could sit here and talk to everybody that goes camping about what they need. But after a weekend of camping, they tell me exactly what they need. I didn't have to tell them everything. But Charlie, wow, I didn't know this. Blah, 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 blah. Now I feel like blah, 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 blah. I don't have to heal you. Camping did. Because I'm obviously...
Mr. Dow Jack.
Right?
Nature, do your big one.
Yeah,
Dr. Nature.
Exactly. Because, all our ancestors come from nature. This whole thing of cooking outdoors with a fire and with a pot and everybody cooking together with like natural foods that you get from outdoors, like that's really where we all come from. All our ancestors come from getting the food from the ground, putting it into a pot and eating it. Today, there's 1,000 agriculture that's in front of your food, and then they send it to a manufacturer that sends it to a grocery store, and then you finally get to see your food. You guys, there's so many people touching that food. I would never touch it again, right? And people were like, oh no, it's not robots that do it. You think that's even better? So what's really funny is we always push for a lot of these natural remedies, but a lot of these natural remedies your ancestors did already, right? And so we're not really creating an encyclopedia of modern healing for modern diseases. We're just remembering and bringing back ancient wisdom for health because we're so far removed from it that now most of us are getting symptoms and sickness from being disconnected from our rituals that our ancestors used to practice, right? And so we have, ironically, in our superiority complex, believe that everybody before us was really the addition to us coming up the greatest idea. No, I'm sorry, but y'all, we're getting dumber, okay? Our ancestors knew shit before all of us. Acupuncture, I would not know how they come up with that. Today now, after fascia, pay attention. Western people are going to start to notice there are certain nodes on the fascia network that works extra efficiently for stuff. Acupuncture, motherfuckers. It's been around for a long time, but for you guys to now start acting like you guys are patenting things on the fascia network is, again, you guys forgetting your own history and choosing to patent old medicine.
Charlie's fed up with y'all.
Yeah, you guys
Charlie's
did it
fed
to
up with
yoga.
y'all.
Okay, you guys did it to yoga, so we're not asking you to start appropriating other cultural medicine. So, that's why right now, like, I'm being asked to really, by my ancestors, like, represent our people. Because our own people are not representing. Who are we in our own? Like, if we want to be racist, fine, but let's be culturally racist. Let's at least show up with our shit. Don't be in a fucking other American speaking like every other American and then you look like another culture. If I'm going to look like another culture and be made fun for being Asian, then I'm going to bring my Asian culture to you because...
Don't be a culture hype beast.
Exactly.
I know. A-Leaf.
And what's really frustrating is like, we grew up in America when we were young and everybody made fun of our culture. And today now everybody's like running to our culture as if like they discovered something new. Yo, we've been around since junior high.
I'm screaming. Charlie's been present, okay? Charlie's been there. What I want to add is a deep breath. And I want to say, I don't believe we're selling any of the same solutions. There's nothing to buy. There's nothing to get. There's just wisdom to hold. And I want to say, you're right with the ones that you named, but maybe there's also community that one needs, solitude, better boundaries with oneself. I feel like that's where addiction spawns. But when you're clear in your mind and you meditate, when you take deep breaths, when you're conscious of what you're putting into your body, when you're resting, when you're being full of gratitude, you can't help but live right and right things follow. If you're not, I can't speak to that. But I love that all of the things I just named are free or cheap. And then yoga. If you're moving your body and doing all the other things, that's it. So I don't want to say it's going to get better or worse. Who's to say? Who's to say? But I can say.
You can say.
Well,
all of us, right?
Yes, but it's already better. It's better because we're here in a podcast studio getting the information out. And for years, I've tried to avoid seed oils, and now I'm just getting it out to community. So for me, it's better. If I'm changing the entire world and how the process is, I don't know. But I hope it gets better. But I say this to say, these are all answers and solutions to big problems, and I'm grateful we can be a part of the solving side and putting that out there, so it's not so doomful. Have hope.
Yeah.
It's about hope.
So a couple of solutions, because we're getting to the end, and I totally remember now. So some of the substitute that you guys should be considering instead of seed oils is go back to meat oils. I know it's controversial, but you're not a plant. You're an animal. You're a human animal, and we're much closer to animals than we are to plants. So it is fine. Do you guys know that like cows have 4 stomachs to eat grass?
Mm-hmm.
So that means that we have a problem actually eating certain vegetables. That's why we ferment them. That's why we cook them in Chinese. So fermentation and cooked vegetables is how we should be eating our vegetables. Don't eat it raw, y'all. Don't eat it raw. I don't know who made up the raw. I used to eat raw as well, too, because I fell into that fat as well. Then I looked at it and it goes, no, you eat raw certain times. You can't eat raw all the time. So again, it's understanding your constitution, understanding when you should be eating certain foods. And so timelines, transits, cycles, seasons are all important. They are the natural flow of the planet. So if we match that flow, we match the food she gives us. She gives us everything we need to eat during those seasons. So the more we eat for the season, don't be drinking cold water in the winter. Don't be drinking, don't be eating ice cream during the winter, right? Like those things aren't good for you because in winter, it's not readily available. Well, I guess it is because you could go and put ice cream in the cold, but you're putting that cold into your body. Just like when it's hot outside and you're going outside, you're getting too much sun, specifically in the summer, right? And so then that gives you sunstroke, right? So we have to be careful about the season, but this is why the nature grows watermelons during the summer, because eating watermelons cools you off and gives you the fluid to battle the sun. So those are some of the things I would say is eat for your season so that your body is acclimated to the food that's being delivered by Mother Nature. But the other thing too, in oils, I use butters and lard when I cook anything. I don't use seed oils anymore. I love bacon now. I used to not eat a lot of meat, and I did great for the first 5 years. But what happens after you release all the bad stuff and you don't bring in meat, then the body starts to take the meat from your body. And that's when I got super skinny and became those like marathon looking people where like it looked like I had no mass, right? I looked like skinny Asians again. I was like, no, I'm not a skinny Asian. I grew up in America with muscle mass. And so I started to eat meat again, and I'm not overeating it, but I started to eat lean meat and meats again, eat more of the lards and fats from the animals. And I noticed everything started to get better. I could think better. Actually, oils are super important for your brain. Your brain is made from oils, and so that's why we keep saying omega-3s.
Tuna.
Seed oils is
Awesome.
omega-6. Omega-3s are more the avocado oils. The fishes have omega-3s. But in general, you want like coconut oil, avocado oils are your major oils. Those are the oils I use if they are non-meat oils. So if you don't want to eat meat, fine. However, like there's so many conversations around having healthy fats, because those healthy fats are the ones that can actually handle the high heat tolerance, and because of that, then they're able to keep the food a little bit less broken down because it cooks the food and then it adds that nutrient back into the food. When you're eating hydrogenated oils, it burns everything and breaks down the consistency of the atoms. You want it to be like when you're cooking soup, and the Chinese medicine uses a lot. When you're cooking soup, you get everything turned into a soup, but you're not losing all that broth and all that mineral. So that's why like pho and bone broth is like our number one food. And I noticed that I started to eat a lot more bone broth, and my joints, my movement have felt more fluid because I'm constantly adding more fats and fluids into my body because I'm burning them so fast because I'm a fire rising. So my body runs in very high heat. So it constantly likes to burn energy. So I love eating oils because now the oils both produces better fuel for my heat, and it makes better brains. And you guys, I'm a nerd, I'm a geek, I love learning shit. So when my brain can't handle it, I get super annoyed because I can't memorize shit. And plus I'm studying my board. So I'm overeating mushrooms and fats right now.
Nice.
To build a bigger brain, right?
That sounds yummy.
And so those are the things I like paying attention to that. But also if you can avoid, like if you're eating every day a meal in 7 days, then think about how can you do half of that and eat less of those oils so that you can get healthier oils.
I agree. And the whole thing is, if your body is leading you astray or giving you bad advice or cravings, just stop what you're doing fast. Fast 8 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours, drink water, maybe sea moss, and then listen. Because if you're already down a path, diabetes, pre-diabetic, hypertension, all of the things that we don't want as adults, maybe there's something with the brain, your cognition and function of thinking something is good for you, even that it's not. So the best way to cut it out is to stop everything and then reconvene, reevaluate. But these are just our opinions and thoughts and perspectives from someone who's been a chef for 11 years. And
a doctor who's been seeing a lot of patients and helping people get through a lot of the issues that they're having in health. And really a lot of people are depressed about food and nutrition. So I try to give them a much more softer hand into, I'm not this rough on them. I don't start cussing at them, y'all. I'm just saying it because, the frustration of watching this, right?
Yeah, it is frustrating.
Yeah.
It is, but it's because we care. We care deeply and a lot. And for me, my calling is to help protect mothers and babies. So if I'm not this serious and reading the labels, what is it for? What's the point, Yeah. But we love you guys so much. Thank you so much for listening in, tuning in. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, we'd love to hear from you guys in the comments.
Yes. So thank you for joining us, listening to us. Please comment, follow us, subscribe to us. If you have any questions, please send it our way. We'll love to answer and get to know our community. But we're always here to have a deeper conversation about medicine. So please reach out to us when you can. So thank you so much, everybody. Till next time.
Thank you so much. Be well. We love you. Peace.